Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is Nawaz Modi Singhania of the Body Art Fitness Centers, and today is all about women's empowerment. It's the month internationally, although that should be, hey, every day. Today we have a super special woman with us, a lady who is so inspiring, so aspirational, by the name of Sneha Sharma. Sneha, welcome and thank you for joining me here. I have to say that you're hugely inspiring to our ilk, and you are, amongst other things, India's fastest female F4 racer. That's a huge thing, the only one, even in the circuit. And you're a commercial pilot. Please tell us a little bit more about your journey to becoming the same, and if as a woman you experienced any particular challenges along the way, or even any upsides, any differences. I am very pleased to note that you started off with the JK, our family, JK Tires Group Company. So can't wait to hear more from you on this.
Hello Nawaz, it's a real pleasure to be today on Body Art page with you, and I'd like to share my journey. When I started, I was quite young. I was about 14. I used to cycle on the streets really fast. I had a sports cycle, and then I knew there's some speed inside of me and I need a platform to express it. So I tried my hand at go-karting. There was a local track in Mumbai and I happened to clock the fastest lap time of the day. That's when I got hooked on to karting. I would spend all my off days, holidays, and pocket money on the racetrack. I wanted to seek professional training, but I did not have access to the same. So I found the local mechanics who would know a little bit about racing because they would do it for hobby at the end of the day. And I learned about braking, cornering, steering, etc. And I started participating in a lot of local races. And in these races, I used to win quite often and perform well. And in one such race for Times of India, I got picked up by a national team to do nationals with them. At this time, I was about 16. I'd already started my ground studies for pilots in India, and I was already doing my 12th science. So it was a tough journey and a tough call. My family was pro flying, but they were definitely not pro racing. They thought it's a hindrance to my studies. It can be an injury-prone sport, and also it's too extreme. So I had some issues. I missed few races, but I was quite stubborn with my goals. So I would carry my helmet before my college, hide it outside the house, jump the wall, go race. But I would make sure I carry my books with me so that I fulfill my responsibility as well. So I drove the national championship. I became the first girl ever to qualify for the KCT category till date. And then I did well. I had various challenges, such as I was an obese teen. I used to be 90 kgs. So I had to lose 30 kgs of weight to be fit as a racing driver and a pilot. So I had to be quite innovative with my exercises and workouts to save time, because I didn't have a lot of professional fitness training at the time. It was quite expensive and I was studying. So I would climb stairs, do power yoga, swim, play badminton, and just run around everywhere I could and work on the track also. So at the age of 17, when I was peaking in my racing career, I had to take a break and go to the USA to do my flying training. I went to California, San Francisco. It was quite tough because I did not know if I'll ever get to race again. And we had taken loans for my education, and there was a lot of pressure. But it worked out. I became the first girl to get the solo, first pilot in my batch to get the solo on the aircraft, which is when the student pilot is allowed to fly an aircraft alone for the first time. So that was quite motivating. I came back at the age of 17. I had my PPL. At the age of 18, I had my CPL. And ironically, I've had my racing license before my flying license and flying license before my driving license. So it was quite reverse in that order. Came back and I wanted to still race. So I picked a championship which I could afford, and it was substandard equipment, and at the same time it was second-hand chassis, etc. But I wanted to be at it. I was converting my USA license to my Indian license, and I also started working on the racetrack part-time. I used to work as a trainer, tuner, mechanic, etc. so that I could subsidize my driving costs and fund my racing. It was really exhausting because I would race all day from early morning, and after the race stay back till 2-3 a.m. on the racetrack working on my cart, other carts, etc., doing accounts, even loading these cars into the truck at the end of the day. And again the next morning come and race. So it's an extreme sport. You need a lot of focus, and you need to be very good with the reflexes. But this hardship really made me push myself harder when I would break for a corner, break that much later, push that much harder to win, because that's how hard it was for me to get there. So I won the championship runner-up. I was the only girl on the grid. This was with JK Tyres. And then I started preparing for my airline interviews. So I got through Indigo at the age of 20. I've been flying for about 10 years with them. And currently I'm flying the Airbus C20 in command, nationally and internationally. After that, my journey continued. I did saloon car racing with Volkswagen the maiden season. Then I did some other national championships. Then I did JK Tyre National Championship and Mercedes Youngstar Driver Program. When I started racing internationally a few years back, I won my race in Malaysia in the Saga Cup. I was the only Indian woman on the grid. And then just recently, I became the first Indian woman to win an international racing championship till date from India. In the F4 Ladies Cup, and also representing W Series, which is a European F3 Championship, as regional ambassador in India. So it worked out. I've had my share of setbacks, I've had my share of injuries. Initially, I used to be mostly the only girl on track. So quite often, a lot of boys would be not so pro losing to a girl. So sometimes some of them would say things like, "We will hit your car, we will take you off track, you don't belong here, go back." They would try to gang up against me, say things like, "It looks like a woman driving." It was really hurtful and I would get angry, but I chose to channel all that aggression into my driving and let my performance speak for itself. So that's how it worked out. But there were some positives also being a woman, because when I would perform well, my mentors and seniors in motorsport would really support me. So there were some positives and some negatives.
Thank you, Sneha. So please tell us, what really would you require in terms of physical fitness abilities to do what you do? A strong core, back, legs, mobility, flexibility, endurance of different sorts, the stamina, quick reflex actions, of course, good eyesight, and also naturally great coordination. Tell us what you do to keep fit. I'm very pleased to know on a level differently that Pilates is a large part of what you do, because it is my introduction to the country, really, in terms of this is something I pioneered that many years ago in terms of full equipment based Pilates. I'm talking about the full Monty of 13, 14 different types of equipment. So perhaps you engage in the mat format, but it's really the equipment base that takes us to an entirely different level. So tell us.
Yeah, what I do requires a lot of physical fitness, strong core, strong muscles, at the same time stamina, not only cardio endurance, also muscle endurance. So there are different workouts for muscle endurance. I used to go to a professional gym in Chennai for motorsport, where we had these weight loaded steering wheels to do pulse exercises under the clock so that we can get strong muscles. At the same time, I would run on the beach, because it's more difficult to run on the beach. It's easier on the joints. I do a lot of cycling. They say elliptical is not that beneficial. Core exercises, mat exercise for back every day, and weight training. As a racing driver, you don't want to bulk up, because if you get a lot of bulky muscles, you're not able to maneuver the car smoothly. You get really stiff. So you want to have lean muscle and a lot of power in your muscle. You also have a weight check when you race. So if you're underweight, they add ballast, that is excess weight, extra weight to your car. And if you're overweight, then it's a penalty for you. So in karting, in Formula racing, I've usually been underweight. So they've had to put more weight in the car to balance the car properly. Because if you put weight on one side, the handling of the car shifts a lot. Reflexes, yes, you need. Skipping is a good exercise. Playing badminton, pool. All my free time is playing some or the other sport. So that's how I would do it. In my gym, we have a special Dynavision board, where it's an electric board with a lot of buttons connected to a computer, and a lot of different lights come on. So you have to kill it within 2 seconds or 1 second. That builds your reflexes, and it also checks how fast you're doing it. So these are few things. Then we also focus on a ball, and we juggle, racing drivers juggle, etc. before a race to build their focus. So that's how I do it. Swimming is really good as well, and power yoga, and meditation for meditation for just relaxation. Though I've also been doing a lot of Pilates now because I've had my injuries. I've injured both my knees, I've had spine fractures and rib fractures. So Pilates help you work around those and loosen all those tight muscles.
That's all lovely, Sneha. But as we know, everything starts from up here and then transcends, right? So tell us, please, what it is that you actually do for mental strength, mental stability, soundness out there, even emotional. And tell us the role you think it plays in what it is that you do. Of course, you are what you eat, there's no question, as you are what you think, but then your action and your thought has to come onto the same page. So, yes, tell us what is in your world in that sphere.
Yes, you're right. Mental and emotional fitness are quite important for racing and flying, because flying, there's a lot of responsibility. You have up to 200 lives, about maybe more than that in your hands while you're landing and taking off. And we do up to 4 sectors a day, wake up at about 3 a.m. sometimes, and then 4 sectors a day, and then work out in the evening because I'm racing as well. Managing the two has always been quite challenging for me from the beginning, but I think my passion for racing always kept me going. So initially I would use all my off days for racing, and it was difficult. And later on Indigo came on board and they supported me, and they helped me manage my flying schedule accordingly. So what I do for mental fitness is I read books, I read quotations, motivational content. Emotional fitness, I try to build a good support system around me, friends, family, a pet. Of course, I don't have a lot of time for all of this when I'm racing a lot, so it gets difficult. But just having a good conversation with whoever you meet, it really helps. So that's what I do. Also focusing on a candle, using essential oils, sitting by the sea, spending time in nature, that really helps me. Getting some sunshine. Yes, so nutrition and lifestyle play a lot of role in racing, flying, and just to lead a healthy life. They say you are what you eat. So if you eat crap, like so I eat really clean, most high fiber stuff, natural stuff, and high protein diet with greens. I always make sure I have 3 components in my plate, that is protein, carbs, and greens, with some amount of fats which always come into the food. So yeah, there's no fried food and not too much spice, etc. So racing driver, before a race we have to eat light, because when we pull G's and we get really pumped up, we don't want to puke. I've had racing drivers puke in their helmets during 24 hours endurance, etc. So that really helps. It gets difficult to eat on board because the food on board is really high quality, but it has a certain amount of preservatives. So I try to avoid that. So having my own nutrition really helps. So having nuts and seeds, etc.
So who are your inspirations? It doesn't necessarily have to be female, it can be men too. People of all sorts inspire us, right? So not necessarily even people, it could be inspiration from all sorts of things, from nature and other things that we draw. Tell us, who are your role models? Who do you emulate, and how do you kind of move things forward internally in that space?
Well, yes, I do look up to a lot of men and women for inspiration. Initially, I didn't have a lot of support from my family for racing, though they were quite supportive for flying. I would read quotations from various accomplished men and women like Maya Angelou, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, etc. Just their quotations, book extracts, just to see if they could do such great things in hardships. So can I manage somehow? So, and I also try to seek inspiration from everybody I meet, be it a child, be it anyone. I seek inspiration from you as well. You're doing so great with body art, and yeah, it's really fun. I hope to visit soon after COVID passes. And I like, I like Serena Williams a lot. I think she's really inspirational. She's made a place for herself, and I really like her.
Sneha, tell us, what's your advice to all the women out there with regard to becoming the best version of themselves, would be with regard to their own empowerment, with regard to being their own hero, and tell us what sort of even, challenges commonly they might expect to find themselves up against, maybe from circumstances, environment, or otherwise?
My advice to all women out there would be that just make yourself strong in all aspects that you can, whether it be financial independence, physical independence, that's to be physically strong, to carry your own bags, and to be emotionally strong, not be dependent on unhealthy relationships or partnerships for support, and be mentally fit also. Play a sport. I think it really helps. Work out, push your body to the limit while running or doing anything, really helps you push yourself in your workplace also. I always feel success happens outside your comfort zone. That's how it worked out for me. What I would like to tell them is that don't pick a profession made for a woman, and pick a profession you like and make your own place in it. That's what I did with racing and flying, which are majorly male dominated sport and profession. So that's what I would like to tell them. Just make your passion your paycheck.
Right. So, Sneha, we all come up against our dark night of the soul. We all have our own challenges and our own demons to overcome. And would you share with us what it is that you tell yourself, what's going on within your headspace, heart space, your psyche? How do you motivate yourself when things get dark and difficult to face? Please share what it is that goes on in your head at that point.
Yeah, when things get hard and tough, there have been many such times when I injured my knees, when I had to miss a race, when I passed my mother while I was on a flight in another city, past my dog passed away, and I was living alone all the time, and just when he passed away the next day I had a race. So it's been quite difficult, but I've been able to overcome these just by telling myself that there are greater things to do. And having a very responsible job used to make me afraid that if I have a hard time, if I'm upset, I can't do it. But sometimes having something greater than yourself lifts you up to fulfill that responsibility. So I've had to force myself to go and do it, and that's what made me realize that I'm stronger than what I consider myself to be. So I just tell myself that this too shall pass, and if I've come this far, I can go further, and there's a lot more to do in life. And I always have this sense of urgency, in the sense that life is short, or life is passing very fast. I have a lot more to do. I think this really keeps me going. So yeah, that's what I'd like to tell others as well.
Lovely, Sneha. Is there anything else that you would like to say to us from your own perspective on any of these matters?
What I would just like to tell is that I think a lot of women should prioritize themselves, because a woman, especially in the Asian society, is taught to put everybody else first and put herself last. We have Women's Day, and it's great to celebrate women on that day, but I think women should be celebrated every day as a part of everyday life. And I think today is the era for women to go out and do what they want and put themselves first, not build their life around say their partner or family, but build your family around your life, around your job, around your career. And I think that's the best decision someone can make for themselves. And one best part about my childhood was I was not raised as a girl or a boy. I was raised as a child. My father's ex-merchant navy, so I got to sail with him on the ship across the world, and I interacted with a lot of equipment, charts, maps, flags, etc., which motivated me to do more in life. And I feel exposure is really important to the youth these days. And I really hope my short story of racing and flying inspires some of them to go out there and do something unconventional and really fulfill their dreams. And I'd like to wish you and everybody a very happy Women's Day. Cheers.
Sneha, thank you for being here. Thank you, all you guys, for being here and part of this. It's been fantastic and so awe-inspiring. We all look up to such women and forge ourselves forward accordingly. So here's to women all over the world every single day. Thank you, and have a great Women's Empowerment Day, year, decade, and life. All the best.